So in high school, I was very extracurricular oriented. So to begin with, so the question was some of the extracurriculars that I did in high school. So most of my time was either dedicated between the two. I had two different seasons of essentially sports. I did soccer. I played varsity soccer for 2 years, and I was also on the robotics team at my high school. So I was captain of my robotics team and I was on varsity soccer at school. I also did student council. I was a peer leader at school. I also volunteered for robotics teams and mentored little kids on how to do robotics. I ran summer camps. I ran summer camps for soccer players as well. And then on the outside of school, I also was playing club soccer and was captain of my club team at um, whatever soccer club I was playing at. So I had a good bunch of different things that I was able to blend into an application for Northeastern. But it's not necessarily necessary to do as many extracurriculars as I did, but I definitely did tend to spread it around. How's the student life at Northeastern? Northeastern student life is pretty good. It is all what you make of it. Personally speaking, I came in here during COVID, so it was a little more difficult to get set up and to figure out exactly what my social scene would look like. For me, socially speaking, I'm a very social person. I enjoy meeting new people and I enjoy spending time. Northeastern is very closed off, and a lot of the students tend to be very studious, and you don't see a lot of people around as often as you would expect. It's not one of those like bigger school, state schools type of things. Like I would say every time I leave my house, I see someone I know most of the time I leave and go to campus. But yeah, I mean, it's not like a lot of fun because we don't have a lot of big sports. I mean, when it comes to big sports comparatively to state schools, there's like football, there's other sports that a lot of other colleges tend to dedicate a lot of their student life to, and like it allows there to be a lot of school spirit. But we play our biggest sport's hockey, and when hockey season comes around, it's very, very intense. Everybody's very hype and it's a really good time. But other than that, it's to be completely honest, it can be a little bit better. I think we're still getting out of exactly what COVID was, but um, it's very nice to be in Boston, and I do enjoy more going around in Boston and enjoying the things that Boston has to offer as opposed to Northeastern specifically. So yeah. Um. Oh, so my SAT um super score was a 1420 when I sent it in. Um, I believe it's gotten a little bit more difficult to get into the school as a result, like recently. But the real stellar part of my application that did carry me, and this is truly how like my application went, was I earned an award in high school in robotics that allowed me to, or like that made me confident to apply to some of these schools because it was a pretty high accoladed award. So I was top 300 individually in robotics my junior year of high school. So that's why I applied to a lot of reach schools as a result of it. But truly, especially after COVID and how little accessibility SAT and ACTs had, it's not the forefront of most people's application anymore. I don't believe. I mean, like 1420 for me in my region where I was living wasn't the highest of the grades. Definitely, like a lot of my friends were rocking above 1500s. So it was definitely not like the best, but um, anywhere I would say within the 1400 to 1550 range is probably the best you could do or necessary for a school like this. So, in terms of guidance on my college apps, what I was able to do was I spoke to some people that would just review my essay, which was really helpful. But one thing that was really important for me was actually seeing what schools were out there because I feel like as a college student, you really just look at the rankings and you look at like what schools like top the charts and which ones would I want to go into. But that's not necessarily the best school to find a fit for you. And I decided to talk to people from different schools, talk to people and get as much advice about like how I actually feel about schools that I would consider going to before applying and doing all the visits and everything about that. Visits definitely help, and I would definitely recommend doing them after you get into school because that allows you to see the school because you actually need to get in first before seeing a school because you can say that you wanted to visit a school and it may help with like the I don't know, some schools think about like, oh, you visited, like we're gonna take that into account on your application. But not necessarily like I don't think that's necessarily the biggest part. I just think it's like if you visit after school, you'll get a good feel of like exactly where you would want to go and like what the taste for the campus is. Like campus is really big for me. Like one thing that I didn't understand when I first came to Northeastern was how cold Boston actually is. Like Boston can get really, really cold over the summer and not necessarily the summer, over the winter. And approximately 9 months of the year are cold here. And I didn't really know that going in. And personally, I would have thought about it before coming here a little more. But just, yeah, just stuff like that, knowing exactly what feels right, like know what you have in mind for exactly what you're looking for in a school and then see how each of those line up with that criteria and then that'll help you decide which school you wanted to go to. But that was a lot more of the guidance that I looked for and I received during my time, like exactly what schools and probably essay revisions too. But other than that, um it was a lot of just like whatever was school, did doing research on my own, deciding because at the end of the day, your college application process and everything you're doing for college is for yourself. So you gotta put the work in to understand exactly where you want to land and what you can do to get there. My major is mechanical engineering with a minor in computer science. It's been a lot of fun. It's been pretty difficult, but nothing worthwhile isn't difficult. So it's been good. Highly recommend. I mean, I can just talk about a little bit about what Northeastern's been like and how it's been since I came into school. I mean, so I started Northeastern. I was in 2020, in fall of 2020, when COVID was still going on, and Northeastern has this program called NUN, which basically allows you to go abroad for your first semester in school. I was not able to go abroad because of it being during my fall 2020 semester, and hence COVID being a thing. I wasn't able to go to a different country. So I had a little bit of a unique experience living in Boston in a hotel and still commuting to like regular campus for classes. But it kind of felt like learning a new city anyways because I'm from New Jersey. I'm not from Boston, so I was able to still pick up a new environment and learn that way. And then I didn't get to really live in freshman housing as a result because I moved straight into upperclassmen housing for the next 2 years and then moved off campus into this. We have this neighborhood right next to campus called Mission Hill, which a lot of the college students live around here because the rent is significantly cheaper. So I live out here now, and it's been it's been a lot of change since COVID, and the academics are pretty rigorous here. So a lot of people are consistently studying, and I'm always studying as a result of that. And I'm studying with a lot of my friends as well. And I actually ended up joining a fraternity because I thought that was the best move for me. And I met a lot of really cool people, and I was able to create my social circle here. And as a result of that, it's been a lot better and a lot of fun. And college is just a lot of studying and a lot of managing your time properly. And the biggest thing about Northeastern that's really different is their co-op program. I'm a very, very big fan of their co-op program. It allows you to get the hands-on experience midway through the year as opposed to looking at an internship over the summer. And there's a lot of people and resources to help you make sure that you get said co-op. Like for example, there are more co-op opportunities at Northeastern than there are job openings, or than there are students. Sorry, there's more job openings than there are students at our school. So like getting a co-op is pretty much guaranteed. Like they walk you through it and they help you. So highly recommend going. So the cycles go like this. You go through your first year, right? And then after you finish your first semester, your second year, you either get placed on a spring cycle or a fall cycle. So in the spring, you would go for 6 months on co-op, and then in the fall, you would come back and do classes, and then you would go back on co-op in the spring, the following spring. So it'd be a nice little alternate between co-op and classes. And if you were put on the fall cycle, you would go from spring classes to fall co-op, and then go back to spring classes again, and then fall co-op the following semester after. So it's very interesting. It's very different. But as a result of that, if you don't come in with a ton of AP credits, you will be working here during the summer. Like, for example, I need to finish a couple of my classes up. So I'm still here taking 2 classes this summer after co op and after that time. So, highly, highly something to consider. Your summers will not be as open as you think they are, but you are getting the co op experience as a result of it. So, yeah, I mean, what is the work culture like in Northeastern? Is it more collaborative or competitive? I would say that it's really about who you surround yourself with, because people will say that it is competitive, but if you surround yourself with people that are actually just trying to help each other and get the grades and get put the work in and get exactly what we want, to go to office hours, go to tutoring, and like do all the work that's required, it's more collaborative. Like people are here to help you, but at the same time, if you keep them at an arm's distance, they will feel more competitive than it will be collaborative. It's a double-edged sword that you gotta deal with however you do here. And I feel like a college is really like that. You gotta really find a group of people that support you in that sense, because everybody's on their own agenda. I feel like everybody's just working and trying to move forward and try to do things. So yeah. The sports here, besides, I was considering playing club soccer for some time. I don't know. Club sports here are pretty big. A lot of consideration that a lot of people don't think about is going to play club sports as a result of your, like, you not playing varsity sports at a school, or even intramurals are a great way to get active. Highly recommend. I play with all of my friends. We have intramural games. I treat it like it's the Champions League, or I treat it like it's the Super Bowl anyways, because I'm a washed up high school athlete. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of people are always out there and always having a good time and playing sports and enjoying themselves. So it's really nice and it's really easy. So far as the airport from campus, I would say it's about I usually take the train. Highly recommend if you're coming into Boston and you're trying to get around from the airport. The trains are definitely an easier way to go. But I'm also a little bit more of a Boston native as a result of being in the area for a while. So I understand how they work. So it might be a little more challenging. But getting through traffic on the way back from the airport can take anywhere upwards of 25 minutes. Like no, it's on the other side of the city, and it's usually the traffic coming out of there is bad, and it's on its own island. So Boston's, you have to go through a tunnel. If the tunnel's traffic's bad, it can be pretty tough and hard to deal with. So I will say, um, the traffic isn't great. Don't recommend it too much. Taking the airport, like the trains are a better way in Boston to get around and even to get to Boston, because give or take round trip, it'll take the same amount of time from most of the places you're coming from, unless it's from a very far proximity. So, yeah.
Hey, just out of curiosity, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh my God, I there's been just terrible things going on with my internet this entire morning. Like it's.
We're good.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. We're good. We're good.
Okay. Um, I guess. How's it been going for sort of the webinar? Are you sort of nearing the end of the sort of questions and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, people are just asking, and I've just been answering. So, how's housing like? Housing's been an interesting story for me. Um, so there are dorms where, for example, the Ivy is International Village is one of our biggest dorms on campus, and you can approximately touch both sides of the walls with like if you extended both of your arms outwards and like did your wingspan, you could touch both sides of the walls. Like it can get a little bit cramped in there. So freshman housing isn't very nice. I will say upperclassmen housing is a lot nicer. It is really nice. It's not like the nicest thing in the world because we're students at the end of the day, but it's pretty nice. I will say, like, I would never complain about it. The only thing I would complain about is the prices of rent and that in Boston. So, for example, like Northeastern charges its students $6,700 for 3.5 months of housing in Boston for suite style housing, which is pretty expensive. And you can find a place off campus for much cheaper and better living conditions, and you get to manage your own stuff. So it's really up to you, whatever you find more convenient. Living on campus is nice, but it does come at a cost, is what I'm gonna say. I chose to move off of campus because for cost, I mean, it is a lot cheaper and it's still easy for me to get to campus. So yeah, I mean, there's a train that runs right through campus, so it's really not that difficult. But housing can be tough if you're a freshman. I never had to live in freshman dorms because of just the way that my Northeastern career went. But um, yeah, they give a lot of opportunities for you to meet other friends and make friends in those dorms. So mine was a little different, so I didn't get that experience, but a lot of my friends did. Like it was fine. I mean, it is what it is. As a freshman, that's how it goes, usually.
Is there any sort of requirement for staying, let's say, like your first 2 years in freshman dorms versus like then going out to rent?
Yeah, I mean, usually they say that you have to stay 2 years on campus, but at the same time, Northeastern has been buying property because they're over enrolling in the school so that they don't have enough housing for any of the students. So a lot of people are just like deciding to move off of campus as a result of that, and they're not complaining about it. So it's just an easy tip to save some money. But they do generally say, I think it's the first 2 years you need to stay on campus.
In terms of like the dorms and stuff on campus, are they all sort of centralized in a certain area, or the sort of dorms that are typically more popular? What are things like that?
So if we look at freshman housing, it's usually in one spot. So there's two buildings that are that are right next to each other, and then there's a row of buildings that a lot of people live at freshman year, and that's on one side of campus. There's not a lot of upperclassmen housing on that side. And then on the contrary, there's one really big dorm building for freshman housing that's on the complete opposite side of campus. And then if you're in honors housing, there is a separate building for that, which is all freshmen usually, which is on the complete opposite. It's like a triangle. If you made a triangle, it would be the 3 points of the triangle. Like they're all on completely different sides of campus. So freshman housing can be a little spread out, and I guess it's a little bit honestly segregated by honors college, by um, living learning communities. I know they do that as well, which is just like you can live with certain people that share similar interests to help make more friends. I guess I never got to experience that as a result of me not being a traditional entry Northeastern student, but it was pretty a lot of people did benefit from that. And then upperclassmen housing is generally all in one spot. It's like completely surrounded on like this one block of campus. It's a quad, and there is a little bit more upperclassmen housing, um, a little bit far away, but it's like most of the upperclassmen when you get to that point in your Northeastern career is around the same spot, so it's pretty nice. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we also have that similar sort of situation where we have like the honors college and the living, like those live and learn, what those communities are. We have those
Yeah.
sort of communities as well, sort of like pushed off to their own side of campus, and everyone else is like generally scattered around the other end.
Yeah, it's kind of just like wherever they could fit in a building, they kind of just threw it in, and we're just dealing with the consequences of it as our commute dictates. Yeah.
Yeah. How big is the sort of the general campus size? I want to say, like, is it walkable across, bikeable, drivable?
So personally, I use my longboard. A lot of people also bike to campus. I would say like if you're near campus and you're walkable to campus, the campus itself is very walkable. It's not an issue. Like I can get from one side to the other within 15 minutes, no problem. To anywhere on campus. And however, for me, it's like most of the like ability, like where you can live outside of campus, like most of the off-campus housing is pretty far away from campus. So you may need some way to transport. Like I said, like the train runs really close to my house, and it runs through like a lot of the area, so it's pretty easy to use the train to get to school. But I usually just longboard. It's my easiest way. I Not everybody does, but I'll enjoy being able to pick up something and just carry it around. So highly recommend that. And on top of that, they allow you to have lockers on campus, so you can. It's on a first come first serve basis, and you just tap your card and you get a free locker to be able to use whatever you want. There are Another interesting fact about that is we have a whole tunnel system. So because of how cold it is in the winter, we Northeastern created like this underground tunnel system to get to most of our classes. For when it's really snowy out, when it's really disgusting out, we can just use the tunnels instead of having to go outside to go to class. So it's really helpful, but it does only cover half of campus. So it at the same time it can be not as useful as we think it is.
That's pretty. I didn't even know that the whole tunnel thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something you learn when you really come there and you explore the school. Like they told us about that on my tour as well. Like they don't really talk about it as much.
Huh. That's pretty cool. Um, I guess let's see. Did you talk a little bit about? I guess if you want to talk a little bit about the sort of food situation, in terms of dining
Yeah,
halls.
meal plans generally tend to be pretty expensive, I'll be honest. In my like personal opinion, I think uh it's a better decision to just make your own food and if that's not possible because you are on freshman housing and you need to be on the meal plan, like the food there is like decent. I wouldn't say it's like the best thing in the world, but I still go there sometimes with some of my like friends who are freshmen because I'm in a fraternity, so we have freshmen joining every semester. So like we always go there and we grab like a bite to eat before, like if I'm still on campus or something, and the food's pretty good. Like I will say, like I'm not gonna disrespect it too much. But at the same time, when I was on meal plan, it was during COVID, so my expectation for it is a little bit lower than it has been. But it's been on the increase, and apparently before COVID, it was very, very good. So there are places on campus that are very, very good. Our dining center also has a Popeyes. It has three different places, three other there's a stir fry place, there's an Italian place, and there's a burger place that are all on dining like meal swipe, which is nice. So you can always change it up. There's also the dining halls are also all you can eat, so they're great. International Village does a variety of cuisine every night. It's like you can go there and get anything you want, and then there's standard stuff at like two of the other dining halls, but that's actually about all the dining halls we have on campus. It's not too packed with dining halls. So yeah, it's pretty nice though. For a nice quick meal.
Yeah, Popeyes on campus sounds like it'd be dangerous
Yeah,
to have.
we had Jason Tatum come in after NBA Finals because we are one of the only two Popeyes on in Boston. So he came by and he was in our student center getting Popeyes, and a lot of my friends saw him. It was kind of crazy. So that's one thing that's nice being in Boston. It's like the sports never seem to amaze you. Like the sports up here are really good, so the culture with the city is really nice as opposed to the school. So yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of like stuff you do for fun on like the weekends and things like that, what are some of the typical things you do in Boston or on Northeastern itself?
Yeah, I mean, so when it's in the summer, I'm trying to enjoy it the most because it does get cold really quickly around here. Like it's cold from anywhere from September to like April, and then it gets warm again, and it's like we can wear shorts. So on my weekends, I'm usually outside. I'm just enjoying the weather nowadays. But there's a bunch of beaches around here that people like to go to during the summer because as a Northeastern student, you're generally gonna be here around the summer, regardless of whether you like it or not. So there's that. On the weekends, also there's the commons. Commons are a great area to go to. In terms of like where student life tends to go, I mean, this is a long ways away for a lot of people that are looking to go to college, but typically the area tends to be more bar oriented, and a lot of my friends and older classmen, upperclassmen go out into the city and they decide to spend their time there as opposed to hanging out at campus. Campus can get a little dead over on weekends, to be honest. It's very studious. It's not like very social, active. Like parents weekend, they'll make it look all pretty. It's pretty nice. They get a lot of people out there. But we'll see our campus active more. Like there's occasions that it gets active. Like for example, like our reading day, they'll do a lot to help like allow us to just relax before finals and stuff. And then we also have um there's like a lot of what is it, landmarks nearby. There's the aquarium. There's like the city of Boston is more of the attraction than Northeastern's campus or the social life on campus is, and I stand by that. I mean, they don't make programming as well known as they should, is what I'll say. So it will be
Mhm.
like you can find stuff to do, but it's more city based, I will say.
Do you have like do the sort of other universities as well in Boston? Do you sort of typically have interactions with people from there as well, or sort of like each sort of campus keeps to their own?
Yeah, I mean, all the time, to be honest. I've met like it's really a small world in Boston to the point where it's like I went on vacation to Barcelona actually with some of my friends this past spring break, and I met someone who was wearing the same shirt as me, and we started talking. And he goes to Boston College, and he goes to Boston College and plays on the club soccer team at Boston College. And his teammate was on my soccer team back when I was in high school. So it's just like a
God.
small little world. Like I see people from Boston everywhere. Like you will meet so many different like people from so many different schools because everybody just enjoys the city. And that's why I say like using the city as your social opportunities is more of the way to go about spending your time in Boston because it's more integrated with most of the other schools and everybody's trying to do the exact same thing. So it's more like you get to meet people outside of the school. But in terms of inside the school, honestly, like I'm gonna keep it 100% honest. The social life like that they do to integrate Northeastern students isn't that high. I will say, like they have opportunities, and I think the best way to meet people or do anything in college is to join a club, join an organization that you actually want to like pursue and like spend time doing, and that'll help surround yourself with people that you want to be surrounded with. Right. I think we got a how far is MIT from my campus? So I would pass MIT every day on my way to work. And for me, it was like a 20-25 minute bus ride max. Like it really wasn't that bad. The train is also pretty quick. You can just take the green line to the red line, which is also like another 25 to 30 minutes. Uber's like drive is like 10-15 minutes, and bike is also 10-15 minutes. So yeah, MIT is not too far. It's just on the other side of the bridge. So Boston and Cambridge are separated by like a river. So Cambridge and MIT and Harvard is all on the other side of the river. And Boston BU or Boston University, Northeastern, and downtown are all on one side of the river. So yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about
Sounds
that.
pretty cool getting to see like a bunch of different universities, a bunch of different type of people, all in sort of the downtown area.
Yeah.
For us, it's just Atlanta. Like we have like Georgia Tech, and then like maybe a bit of Georgia State, and that's it. That's all we
Yeah.
have.
It's really nice because Boston is known as a student town. Like we have like 200 universities in the area. Like it is,
Yeah.
people don't understand that it's that much, but you will be seeing a lot of people from a lot of different places. And it's so studious and like so student oriented that in the summers it kind of feels weird when there's not a lot of students here. It's kind of like, oh, this is like not how Boston usually is. And so, yeah.
pretty funny. I guess you're talking a little bit about clubs. If you want to talk a little bit about what sort of clubs you're into, or
Yeah.
clubs you find really interesting in Northeastern.
So there's a bunch of different things that I experienced. So I was in student government assembly for a little bit, which is very interesting because they actually run it like a proper government, and there's a lot that goes into that. And personally, I gave it a try, and I was like, I'm not cut out for this type of stuff, but at the same time, it was really interesting, and those people have a lot of passion for what they do and making the school a better place. So highly recommend them, honestly. But there's this whole club fair that we do at the beginning of the year, and 200 clubs on campus have a table on and like all across campus, and we just walk around and you can meet any club you want and see what you're into and just keep walking around. And it's really really helpful to like meet everyone and learn what you would want to do. Like for example, I was going to try out for club soccer. I actually ended up getting injured, but a lot of my friends play club soccer. They love it to death. A lot of club sports are really active. A lot of friends of mine play there, but personally I'm in Greek life at Northeastern, and
Mhm.
I enjoy it a lot. I met some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life and my friends for life. And that's really what being in any club at Northeastern is about. Just meeting people that you want to keep around. And specifically for me, because I mean, I am in a fraternity, it is a little bit of a different experience, but um, I get that sense of community from a lot of the clubs around here. And like for me, another one was NU Aero, or Aerospace NU. That's a big one. Or the American Society of Mechanical Engineers was something that I was a part of for a while. And they host like seminars on different topics in mechanical engineering to help broaden your interests. And Aerospace NU was more like competition based rocket building and stuff like that. And there's also like, for me, I'm always on the engineering side because I'm an engineering major. That's where I would spend my time if I were to. So there's like a Northeastern Baja Club, which is they like build cars for racing and like dirt tracks and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot out there. And I'm sure if you think of anything, we either have it or we would make it. So Northeastern does have a lot of variety of interests, is what I'll say.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the biggest thing, like about what you said, like making sure to join at least some clubs gets you. It's probably one of the best ways to make that sort of friend group, make sort of like-minded people that you could ever have.
Yeah,
It's
you're
so
never gonna enjoy it sitting around, or like they ask the freshman activities, like wherever you end up going, you will have freshman activities to like engage you and teach you. Like you'll meet people, and then the people you live around is a big way to meet people. But at the same
Mhm.
time, like you're never gonna find people that are more aligned with your interests than like a club because you both decided to choose to spend your time there, right? Like that's just how that works. So
And it's also great to have, especially as a freshman, like getting to know people who are like a 1 year, 2 year above you is probably like incredibly insightful for like, oh, what class
yeah.
should I take, professor, everything like that.
Which professors you take in college is probably one of the biggest things that people don't talk about. That's one thing, and then on top of that, it's getting someone. For me at Northeastern, I would not be anywhere where I am without like the people above me, like people, mechanical engineers that have already graduated or are in their final year right now, and they've helped me immensely. And I highly, highly recommend making older upperclassmen friends because they can teach you the ropes so much easier than you would be able to learn yourself. So.
Yeah, definitely. I guess one sort of thing I was gonna say, like you should also definitely make friends with some of the TAs in your classes. But I guess before that, I wanted to ask, how's the sort of TA situation? Are there like TAs in most of your underclassmen classes and a TA?
Yeah, I have TAs for everything. I will say a lot of them are foreign, because they're choosing to use their work study in that way. Um, they can be a little difficult to work with as a result, is what I'm saying, like accent wise and whatever, but they're not like super, super difficult to understand. That is an observation that I have realized, especially in my mechanical engineering classes. But yeah, I mean, their TAs are accessible. They make it really easy to find help if you need help, right? Like if I needed to study for something and I wasn't able to find the resources I needed, there are 4 different office hour times a week. I have 2 different TA times. I have tutoring hours, and I have whatever online resources I can find. So there's like more than enough stuff to help me like ease my transition into college.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And I feel like sometimes like freshmen sort of make it a point to be like, oh yeah, I don't go to office hours. It's kind of like a flex kind of thing, but it's definitely worth worth it. Like, just, even if you don't have that many questions, just go into office hours and just figuring something about what's on the test or something.
I feel like so for me, office hours is literally it's like people saying that not going to office hours is a flex is the completely wrong mindset in the sense that they've given me test questions in office hours, like the exact question and the same form. Like for engineering, it's like you can change up the numbers, but the actual like setup of the problem could be the exact same. And they literally gave those questions out at office hours for students that I decided to put the extra effort in to use on the exam, to be ready to like understand and just put it down on the piece of paper. So for one to say that it is not like not going to office hours makes me a smarter human being is actually completely false. So highly recommend if you need the help. And it's like no one's gonna help. Like if you need help, no one's gonna like take the time to make sure that you are understanding what's going on, because a lot of teachers in high school did tend to do that. Now it's like you need help, like you got to go figure that out. Like you need to make sure that you understand content. And for me, it's a lot to digest throughout. I mean, mechanical engineering is one of the toughest majors here in Northeastern, so being able to like digest a lot of the information very quickly can be tough. And if you're not using your resources, you're not going to be able to keep up. And that's just how college goes, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I've had like TAs give me like they would say test questions, like even like, let's say you have a homework assignment and you're struggling on a question, if you bring it to the office hours, like there's a pretty high chance they'll just like help you grade your homework on the spot right there and tell you exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's 100% always do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just got one question from someone. What's the sort of career fair situation like at Northeastern?
They have plenty. So they have so for me, I go to American Society of Mechanical Engineers ones because that's my like it's the easiest way for me to find like co-op mixers. They do co-op seminars, co-op mixers, co-op panels. So a lot of it is job when we talk job oriented, a lot of it is co-op based for Northeastern because it's like we are expected to go on co-op while we're here in Northeastern. So as a result of that, you don't have to if you don't want to, but that's probably like one of the selling forefronts of the school. So I would say going on co-op as a result of that, in order for you to get familiar with companies and employers and stuff like that, they hold multiple career fairs all the time. I get email. My email is flooded with different ways I could that the School of Engineering is sending me, or specifically the mechanical and industrial engineering department is sending me like tons and tons and tons of co-op mixers for me to meet any company that I would have prospectively wanted to go to talk to students that have already worked there. And we have our own advisor for co-op as well, so we get an advisor that allows us to like that solely helps us with job search. So there's a lot of resources at Northeastern for job searching and for career oriented affairs. So yeah. Let's see. What happened? I talked about. Well, if you're gonna remember anything out of this seminar, I'm gonna say, um, just a reminder, like Northeastern is in Boston. Like it does get cold, and I will say that 100 times over because I'm never as prepared for the cold as I should be, and um, very, very, very much recommend making sure to have all of the materials necessary to keep you warm in the winter because it can get really cold up here. Like negative 10 degrees was the worst it was up here. and you wouldn't even expect that, but it just gets bad. So, reminder, that's the one thing you should make sure to remember from this seminar.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Did you hear? I guess sort of reiterate. What I know you said you did a co-op. Do you feel like there's some sort of advantage to doing that sort of co-op program versus like an internship program, or do you just get more exposure to it?
So a lot of misconceptions about the co-op program that like need to be addressed. So co-op is a 6 month block that Northeastern dedicates, and you essentially do 2 or 3, and you choose your path when you come into Northeastern. And I'm doing 2 co-ops in 4.5 years of school, in addition to an internship that I did in the summer. So that allowed me to not take summer classes that summer, but also have to um take so now I have to take another semester of classes as a result. But if we look at it, it's like 6 months of co-op, and I'm gonna do 2 cycles, and that'll turn into like a year of co-op experience, right? Versus if you were in a traditional schooling system and you did do those 4 months of internship every summer that you would recruit for, if you were doing those same things, you would be still be hitting those same different the same, I guess, timetable measurements. Like if you took 3 internships, it would still be the same amount of time. It'd be what you do an internship for 4 months over the summer, and you'll get a year of experience either way. So it really is it's beneficial, and I will say that it's nice that I get to do it throughout the year and for a more extended period of time. So I get to work on more difficult projects and work for a more extended period of time. But at the same time, at the end of the day, like it's about the experience and where you go and what company you work at that matters more than the amount of time that experience goes into. So, for example, for 6 months, I worked at a startup and I was thrown into the deep end immediately. And I was told to do X, Y, and Z every single day and just crank out. I was the entire startup's production department. I was their entire production, shipping, and handling department for whatever product they were making. So as a result of that, I gained so much more experience than I would have if I was doing working anywhere else. So I say the type of internship matters more than necessarily doing the co-op experience. But if you were to decide to come to a school that offers a co-op experience with this many resources, it would be a waste of money to not take a use and incorporate those use of resources. Right? Like you should be using them and you should be using it to go on co-op because you're out of school, but I won't say that it will lead you to disadvantage comparatively if you chose a school without a co-op program.
All right, yeah, that was actually pretty insightful for me too, because I sort of I had that same sort of idea that like the co-op program would be similar to an internship program, but like the from what I've heard, a lot of people doing co-ops at like Georgia Tech and stuff as well. Like they feel like it's a lot more just immersive than a sort of internship. Like an internship, while it can be immersive and you're sort of just you're there for 3 months, you can be really into the company then. That having that length and exposure to it, just I feel like sort of gives you a better insight into what that sort of career or company feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to extend my co-op an extra 2 months for the rest of the summer because I was on spring cycle, and I got so much experience over that. Like I feel like very confident for the workforce as a result of it. Like working 8 months in a row does definitely change your outlook on how you feel about the workforce. I mean, like realistically speaking, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, what your major is getting yourself into until you've worked a job like that. And being able to do that was very, very helpful in making sure that I was choosing the right career path for myself.
Yeah, it's definitely. Um, I think that if anyone has any like sort of final questions, then please feel free to send them. But those are all the questions that I got,
Yeah, that's
and
good.
also from my as well. But thank you so much for taking the time to sort of
Yeah,
be
of
here
course.
today for sort of what happened with the internet before.
All good. Don't
Um,
worry.
so I'm glad we sort of got it out there.
All right. Sounds good. Um,
Sounds good.
yeah, feel free. I can drop my email in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I think this is the chat. Um, But yeah, if you guys are ever around and need a tour or something, yeah, feel free to let me know. I would love to help you out and help you with any questions that you might have. But yeah, good luck with the application process and wherever your college experience might take you. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Yeah, for everyone else, we'll sort of end it here. Thank you guys so much.